Hello friends at YouTube. Exciting day today. Not only did I get out and fly with a couple of friends, I got back, there was a knock on the door and a package had arrived. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the nice people at Gearbest sent me this box. Inside the box was a little product called the LT105, which is this beautiful looking little quad. Looks very much like your normal sort of racing frame. Got FPV flight controller in it. Got the normal little 25mm VTX and camera, and these 8.5 mil motors. Didn't have a receiver, but today a receiver turned up. Now what's great about this is Gearbest sent me a slightly more appropriate receiver. If you remember, I built this one. This is like a QX90. It's actually smaller dimension wise than this one, but it feels much bigger because of the way it's, I don't know, maybe it's because it's a square, and although this is a very stripped down receiver, it's still like a proper, what is it, it's an X4R SB, so you know it should go over a kilometre no problem. It's quite big, and I didn't want to put something that big on a tiny little frame like this, so the thing that popped through the door today was this teeny tiny little FrSky compatible thing. Let's just see if we can get it into focus. Tiny, isn't it? I mean, it could be smaller, it's still got the pins on, but I thought that's going to be exciting, and that will just slip into here, no problem, and it weighs nothing. It's like a little whiff of nothing at all. So I thought I'd go through, before I put that together, exactly what's in here. And I can't remember what this is called, so I'll put it as a title here. I don't think it's called anything specifically. I think it was just small FrSky compatible receiver. Basically, it does PPM or S-bus, but it works in D8 mode, so it's not telemetry or anything. But I figured I'd also go through what was in the box just before I hook this up. This exciting box here, which is now empty apart from some rubber bands. So in the box, aside from the quad body that just comes like that, you get two sets of props, these little orange ones, two 600 milliamp one cell batteries with these little lossy adapters, which seem to become quite popular. Still not sure about the 600 milliwatts for something this light. I wonder if it could take something different. One of these charging cables, which I don't like. Basically it works, you have to plug two batteries in and then it attempts to use each one as it was a single cell and balance them. It won't work on my charger because my charger wants a discharge port as well. So if you've got a balance only charger, this work, but I will generally use one of the little USB chargers that plug straight into these. And finally you've got these, a whole set of rubber bands. This is actually made so it's got these little tags here, so you can bring the rubber band around to hold the battery on. There's a battery coming around here to hold the camera on, and you can put some more in to do the wires. So that I think will work quite well. Little bit of a weirdie here on the frame. I'll cut to a close-up shot here, but you can see just on the top here there's kind of like there's a little section that looks like that's where the camera wants to go, but the camera's just a little bit wide, so sits sort of against these little cutout bits, which is a bit weird, but you know. Anyway, I will get the soldering iron out, and I will get this installed, and we'll go from there and get flying. I haven't gone into great detail on fitting the receiver because I figure for most people they'd either buy the FrSky compatible or the DSMX compatible quad anyway. Saves them the trouble. But basically I took the little receiver, I depinned it because they were kind of in the way, and then just soldered onto UART2 for S-bus, bound it up, and it's ready to go. Okay, well I've gone and put that together. Yeah, it's pretty easy. It fits in nicely, just in that centre part there. It's got a little antenna out here, which I'm not sure about. Maybe I'll reinforce that just in case one of these can hit it. And that's the battery all in. It's It's lovely looking. I really like it. There's a little bit of flex in this carbon, but looking at the printed ones and the flex they had, I think that's probably okay. So I think I'm just going to give it a quick hover in the man cave just for starters. I'm just putting a couple of batteries back in storage, but I just have a space just to see how it comes up. Bound to my Tyrannus, had to go into clean flight, changed it to use UART2 on S-Bus. I'm keeping the standard settings, see how that looks. Can always make another profile or change them around. But yeah, let's see how it is. Ooh, that's feisty. This is indoor hovering using angle mode. I did have it in its initial acro mode and it felt a little bit too spicy for indoors. It would very easily flick over. There was just too much movement. But angle mode seemed very stable, so I thought let's give it a try with this. So I went out in the garden and gave it a go. Got a little bit more camera wobble. There's a little bit of breeze, and I'm not sure if this was the tuning or the breeze or the fact it's in angle mode or it's got some flex in it. Generally though, pretty happy with how it was flying. Flying in the garden's a lot of fun, but even on this tiny little quad, it's quite easy to drift over and hit things like this fence, and obviously there are plenty of crashes when I went into the slide or the other bits of the climbing frame. But it was pretty good just to do some little laps, and I could tell that it had some power if I wanted to go over things. I mean, it wasn't ballistic. It's not like flying, like, you know, a 4S with blunt nose props or something. But this was had a lot more power than the previous ones I used, and seemed to be a lot more nippy and nimble. I did manage to break 2 props in my various crashes, which is quite unusual on these little quads. Normally they survive quite well. So from getting warmed up in the garden, I decided to take it around the house. Now I'm not sure if this is a particular inside flying quad. It's 105mm motor to motor, and it's got no prop guards. And the problem comes in when you turn. If there's a little bit of drift, it's quite easy for it to go around and hit something. So just be aware that if you want to fly this sort of thing indoors, that you know what your surroundings are, and it's not going to matter if you hit things, because I hit plenty of things. That said, a lot of fun again, and you'll notice the smoothness is back now. There's no wind to contend with, the PIDs trying to fight with each other. Quite a lot of concentration I found to fly indoors, and I wasn't doing it that brilliantly, but the fact I managed to get round I was quite pleased by it. And I did this on the first go, by the way, as you can probably tell, as I hit a whole bunch of walls and stuff. That's no problem seeming to get through internal walls. It's not a very big house, but 25 milliwatts will sort you out okay just for flying around indoors without any problems. Good for a rainy day, but quite tricky. But maybe I just need some more practice. So I wanted to compare the difference between inside and outside, and if it made an instant difference. So I thought I'll fly out my conservatory door and see how that feels. So you see it's quite smooth, and then as we get outside we get some jello on the camera, where there's that little bit of wind making the quad work a little bit harder than it would do inside, which is interesting. I don't know if this is a case of tuning this out, or it's kind of, that's just one of the accepted things. I'm always a little bit lazy with tuning. I'm like, okay, it's flying quite well, I can't be really bothered to go and spend ages trying to mess around with it. Next I took it out into the field, and this is a little bit down the end of the furthest field that I'd normally go to. I don't normally fly from here because it's not that good for my regular quads, but I thought it would be quite good here because you've got trees. Unfortunately, trees come with little silly twigs, and it's quite easy to crash into them. This to me feels like the natural home for this quad. Kind of the places you wouldn't necessarily be able to take a sort of 200 to 250 size quad, but you want to get up there and do a bit of flying anyway. This was a lot of fun and seemed to have a pretty good turn of speed on it. At the moment, again, I've kept it in angle mode because I forgot to check acro mode out, but angle mode was doing really quite well. So at this point I was just flying in this mode quite happily and going great guns. You see, I'm not flying too far away from myself, maybe 50 or 60 meters at the top. The reason I didn't try and push this receiver further, and it claims to be able to do up to 600 meters in the air, is that I don't have a beeper on this, and having crashed it 10 feet away from myself and it being covered in one leaf, it's really hard to find. So if you are going to fly this outside, make sure you know your area, you have a beeper, or you have someone watching it. Now, it went down this one time, and I don't know if this was because of it ran out of range, it was behind some trees and me, or I just got caught by gust and it sort of fell backwards. Hard to say. I'd like to do a bit more range testing on it, but I kind of need someone to watch it for me just in case we lose it. By my second LiPo, I was just having quite a lot of fun. Really enjoying this sort of zipping around through the trees, although scared to go any further, mainly because if it fell out of the sky I knew I'd have so much trouble finding it. At this point it doesn't feel too dissimilar from flying something like a FrSky 250 style quad. Now at this point I've said to myself, oh yeah, I should try that acro mode out. It felt terrible indoors, really hard to control, and to be fair, it's quite feisty and not the easiest thing to control in the air. However, it gives you a hell of a lot. Suddenly you've got the ability to put in really tight corners and turns, flips and rolls, and the difference between this and some of the other micro quads I've flown is because it doesn't weigh that much and it's reasonably powerful, you can do it. You can pull off a roll or a flip without falling a great deal of height, and so you can just put them into your normal flying. Ditto with the hard corners. In the last micro I found if I put it into a really hard maneuver, I'd have an issue with it falling backwards out the sky and those motors just not able to recover, it would seem. This thing, going great guns, absolutely loving it. It, as soon as it went into acro, although it took a little bit to get used to it, and the camera makes it look all a bit weird because it's sort of distorting out slightly. It was fantastic. It was what this quad was made to do. So it's just gone up from in my estimation from a really nice little quad that seems to be the best micro I've flown to an exceptional little quad that is easily the best I've flown. By the time I got to my last LiPo, which I'd actually got from the other quad and was a little bit soft, I think it was sagging a bit more, I was really after how much can I throw it around and what sort of punishment will this take. I did notice this was noticeably a little bit slower on some of the manoeuvres, so this battery from the other one is toast. I think I need to throw those away and get some more. The other interesting point was this is flying on the 600 milliamp 1 cells. Would it be better to get something like a 300 milliamp and knock a couple of grams off and have it even more agile? That said though, this is having a pretty good time just on this kind of ropey battery. I'm having a fantastic time. I can just imagine going almost anywhere, just where there's a clump of trees or something. I want to mess around and start racing around them. Just at the end here, I've decided to try and do some laps. How quickly can I do a turn and get round that tree? It's a bit of a boring left-hand circle. Boring
boring to watch. From my point of view, I was having an absolute blast. And I really can't... I was cursing the fact that I'd used one of the lipos on the other quad, and now I'd have to go home because I only had 4 altogether. But never mind. Of course, I barely ever land this quad. There's only really one way to seemingly put it down on the floor, and that's basically to crash it into something, at some point run out of skill or power or lipo, and you'll be on the floor. But on this occasion, nothing broke, no props, nothing, all good. Back to fly another day.
Well, if it wasn't obvious, I am loving this. It went from being, oh, this flies quite nice, when I was flying along an angle and thinking that's quite good, isn't it, to, whoa, this is more like it. And did you notice it was a lot smoother as soon as we went to acro, which is the same as everything. Quite why it's that much better than this one. And to be fair, I thought this flew okay when I first got it. And, you know, it kind of weighed down by this full range receiver and the silly things out the back. That said, it's only 8 grams more than this. But I suppose the fact that its propellers are closer together means it hasn't got the quick power that this one can, where the arms are further apart, to just make those quick corrections. But this is just fantastic. It really does come alive when you fly in acro. I want to try it with some lighter batteries as well, just see if it's even better. And I think it just looks so sexy, if a micro quad can be called that. So if you want to go burning up your local little bit of woods or big garden, or if you've got a really massive house, I think that would help. These are really good. If you want one, Gearbest is the place. There's some links down below if you click on the description. And if you click on them and buy them from there, the nice man from Gearbest said he would give me some more stuff. So if you want me reviewing more stuff and you want to buy it, then clicking the link helps out. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I'll get on and got some more reviews to do and things. See you later. Bye.